Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Evil Men. Na, 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 na.
And then there were two.
Oh, Michael, great to be here today. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And I'm seeing you in a way that's bringing back a lot of, a few unhappy memories. Not because of your
Mm,
face and your voice, but because we're recording remotely over the internet today.
that's
It
right.
reminds me of Mr. C, Mr. COVID, and
Oh, Mr.
lockdown.
COVID, the dreaded
Yeah.
Mr. C. I know. It made
hmm
me, I realized this really is giving me lockdown vibes. Well,
Yeah.
maybe this bird flu will become a huge thing and we'll get to
Hopefully.
do this again. Yeah.
I also heard there's some new bacteria going around
Oh,
Ontario
good.
that's causing concern. Anyway, the reason
Bacteria.
some sort of I don't know. Maybe I
Hmm.
misread the
Remember
article.
that monkeypox thing?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that'll come back.
Hopefully, at least I had. Everyone likes monkeys. They're
It is
funny,
cute. Yeah.
and we're close to them genetically. Whereas a bird flu or a bird disease,
Yeah. Yeah.
get it away from me.
Yes.
But we're recording remotely because the third evil man, Mr. Chris Locke, Canadian Screen Award nominee, was
Mm-hmm.
unable to join us. Why? Because he has a bit of some tummy trouble.
That's true. I I like just being, outing Chris as Chris had to have diarrhea, so he couldn't make it tonight. No, he was supposed to pick he was supposed to do the research today too, and he
Yes.
told us earlier today that his stomach is bad and he can't come in. And
We
he
want a
also
doctor's note before we,
yes, Chris, we
let him off the
demand a
hook.
doctor's note.
Yeah.
Um, but the problem is, Chris, why do we do this? I have the microphones and the cords, and Chris takes home the Zoom recorder for
Yeah.
some reason. So we have all our stuff at different places. And Chris has our recorder, and Chris has the keys to Bob Bazaar where we record. So Mike and I, we just had no choice but to throw this together and do it online.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris keeps the Zoom recorder.
Mm-hmm.
He holds it tight and he sleeps with it in his hands because he doesn't want to leave it at your place because he's
Yeah.
afraid. He's told me this in confidence. He said to me, quote, "I'm afraid James will record a podcast solo and it'll blow up and he'll become huge."
Oh
End quote.
my God, Chris. He's like Gollum with his ring with this Zoom
He,
recorder.
he's like going with his ring. What's this?
Yeah.
Precious. He always says, "Yeah,
My
precious,
precious.
my
Yeah.
precious, yeah, my
Yeah.
precious."
And it's an old crummy. I mean, no offense to Chris, but the Zoom recorder has a big hole in it.
It does.
Yeah, on the side, there's literally a big hole, and you can just
Yeah.
look inside at the electronics. It's not a good recorder.
Do you know what though, James? In the Zoom recorder's defense, I found that a lot of the best things in life have a big hole in them.
Oh man. And how about this, Mike? Just the two of us. I mean, we had a podcast before Evil Men, and
We
it was the
did.
two of us. And then then we brought in Chris, and it's been amazing. But God, it's like it's almost like a couple that brought in a third, and
Mm-hmm.
we get used to that, and now the
And then
third's gone,
the
and
third has tummy trouble, and
we're sort of feeling our way around the household,
we are.
just the
But
two of us.
it's comfortable, and that does make
Mm,
me think though. If you are in a thruple,
yes.
I guess it's good because if someone gets tummy trouble, doesn't mean that like there's no fun that night. You know what I mean? Because unless everyone in the thruple gets the bug, and you're
But then they
all
could
fighting for
right.
the toilet. Yeah.
That's true. But then they could sort of all, I guess, pleasure themselves while feeling
Yeah.
sick.
Or you can incorporate the tummy trouble into the lovemaking.
That's
But
true.
you need maybe some rubber sheets or plastic
You know,
sheets.
I watched. I mean, I hope they don't mind me outing them, but I was at Aaron and Steph's, our friends, Aaron and Eve, Steph,
Oh.
uh, and uh, and we were sort of watching, like we had dinner or something, and then we just randomly flipped around TV, and somehow ended up on some show that was like it was like a home design show, but there was an episode about making people's like sex dungeons, and there was this whole segment
Is this
on
the Property Brothers?
And there was this whole segment on this like big group of people. There were like 7 or 8 of these young men and women, and they all lived together, and they wanted a really sexy big sex dungeon. And it was kind of funny because one guy, it was kind of elaborate, trying to like make everybody's kinks, I guess, sort of come true, like.
Right.
And I guess one guy who was honestly the most handsome guy, but she had him build like a little booth that he stood in with a little slit to, I guess, watch all his partners have sex while he stays in a little phone booth kind of thing. I
So
don't
he
know.
was
It's
a
like a weird version of Superman.
yes, yeah, you could see. So he was a voyeur. That was his thing, even though he was the best
Yes.
looking guy.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like hey, no judgment that you
Yeah.
want to watch everybody, but
You don't think of a
the booth
hunk.
doesn't seem that great.
Yeah. I was like, you don't think of a hunk spying on people having sex. You think of it being like a little, Hans Moleman type guy who's
Yeah.
spying on people. But
Maybe we need more handsome representation amongst voyeurs and peeping
yes,
toms.
voyeurs, they're not just creepy guys wearing trench coats. They're teachers, doctors,
Yes.
lawyers, their husbands, their
Sons,
grandfathers, sons.
fathers.
There was something when Trump was convicted of all whatever 34 counts recently. There was some
Mhm.
tweet I saw in his defense saying like, "Can't believe people are laughing at his convictions. When they do that, don't they know they're laughing at a father, a husband, and grandfather?" But it wasn't a joke.
Oh God. I mean, he did. Isn't he in trouble because he paid off a porn star? I mean,
It's
you kind of lose a bit of that grace, I guess.
all of our grandfathers did the same thing.
I don't know what my grandfather would have thought of a damn porn star. Probably in Ireland 100 years ago.
If you could show 100 years ago your Irish relatives today's modern pornographic
Oh God.
options, it would blow their minds.
It really would. It
No,
really would. And the farther, yeah, absolutely. I just imagine some, probably an old farmer in Northern Ireland or whatever it was at the time. He just wouldn't believe it if you showed him an iPad and it was sort of,
like
you know, Pornhub. I don't know what he'd do.
he'd be like, "What's MILF? What's cock? What's a cock video? What's a cock video?" I'm trying to do a Northern Ireland
Lots
accent.
of, yeah, I know that was good. What's a MILF?
What's MILF?
That's really good. The only way I can get a Northern Ireland accent going in my mind is to be like to say town, and they say it like Tyan.
Are you?
Are you going to Tyan? Are you going into Tyan? God, beautiful though.
Beautiful
Liam
place.
Neeson.
Kenneth Branagh.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. That's why he made
Oh.
the movie Belfast. I think it was about. It
Ah.
was a sort of meditation on his childhood, growing up in Northern Ireland in Belfast.
Oh wow.
Haven't seen it. Don't plan to.
If you do anything to my daughter, I'll find you and I'll kill you. Liam from Taken.
I I took a flight recently on the budget Irish airline. You've probably used it before,
Yes.
Aer Lingus, and
Oh, I don't think Aer Lingus is that bad. Or I guess it's like basic, isn't it?
it was better than Air Transat, which I
Yeah, Air Transat sucks.
flown more. But Air Transat or any Canadian airline always has a bunch of like Canadian entertainment. So there's like Canadian movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
The movies, especially, you're like, what? I've never heard of this. And they also have to have French Canadian TV shows and movies. But this Aer Lingus flight had like Irish TV shows and movies I had never heard of, and they
Mm.
looked pretty funny. I didn't watch any, but
One of the last times I was in Ireland in a hotel, I flipped on RTE, their
mhm.
CBC, and there was a sketch show, and not like a kind of sketch show that would go international, that would become popular, like just a local kind of sketch show, like I guess the equivalent of here in Canada, like maybe when we had Air Farce or something like that, like mocking local political satire. And I watched it, and it was really bad. I mean, I'm sure people there like it, but you know what I mean when you don't. You know what I'm saying. You're just like,
You
oh,
got to be from there to love it. Yeah.
yes,
Well,
yes. Well, I guess I could tell I had a little interesting happenstance.
I would love to
Uh,
hear it.
oh, well, Ebony, my wife, very sweetly bought her and I tickets to go to a gluten-free food festival in
Whoa.
Toronto. Isn't that, I mean,
Wow, so
and you know,
the marriage is really heating up.
oh yeah, it's getting wild, absolutely wild. And Mike, you wouldn't believe it. You probably think, oh, gluten-free food fest. What is this? Like Monday morning in the library? Actually, no. It was a big party. I'm not kidding. There was like music playing and all these booths and all these, young, cool people were there. I felt better about that.
Was it a who's who of Toronto's gluten-free scene?
Yeah, it was. And I actually DM'd Ben Stagger, a famous
Right.
Toronto celiac, and said, "Where are
Yeah.
you?" And he's like, "Oh, I wanted to go, but I didn't get a ticket, whatever."
Ben.
I know. It was cool. I bought a bunch of stuff. But interestingly, so we're at the gluten free food festival, and
Yeah.
this is nice. And there was a DJ playing, like, getting jiggy with it and stuff. And then there was a guy at the gluten free food festival who I want to say looked like Cisco, if you remember the
Of the
singer of the
thong
thong
song. Yeah,
song.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And he was just, I guess he was sort of dressed very flamboyantly, and he was just dancing like he was in a club. Like, as I arrived, this guy is just really, like, he was great. He was like really good dancer, but he's just like really sexy, like in a club party, like it's New Year's Eve
He was
dancing. And this
dancing
is a
by
song.
himself.
Yes. And
Was
this
he
is
on
like
stage or
no, at the
no?
beginning, he's just kind of dancing, milling about.
Right.
And this is a Sunday at noon at the gluten free food fest. Anyway, but I thought, hey, I don't know what his deal is, but that's fun, I guess. And then we go around and look at a few more booths and stuff. And then on our way out, that guy's still dancing. And I guess I
Wow.
thought either either he was a customer of the gluten-free food festival and loved it so much he just
Mhm.
couldn't help himself and started dancing, or the gluten-free food fest hired this man
Right.
to dance, like this fun man to dance about the beauty of being gluten-free.
And he did it for hours.
He did
He
it for
danced.
hours. I was there for an hour at least,
Right.
and he was doing it the entire time.
Wow. I guess the third
Oh.
option is maybe he was suffering from bad mental health.
Yeah, that might be the third one. That is true. He might have just been there when they set up shop.
Wow. So gluten
Uh,
free food fest. You're meeting other people. It must have felt to you like a safe space, a place where you could relax and be among your kind. You must have
mhm.
felt like, oh, is it okay for Ebony to be with me because she's not gluten free?
Yeah,
Is
that
she getting the
wasn't
attitude or
well, I definitely made sure to not let anybody know that there was a, you know,
a glutey?
normie in the midst, a
Yeah,
glutie
yeah,
in the mix.
yeah, yeah.
And as you're walking around, you do hear fellow gluten freers kind of saying to each other like, "Oh, if I saw a glutie in here, I'd beat their head in," things like that. And
They're
so I
quite
would say,
violent.
"Ebony,
Yeah, yeah,
be quiet, okay? Don't
yeah,
say a word," because you can tell, even just
yeah.
people's tone of voice, their aura. If someone's gluten free or not.
So what did you buy like from food stalls or did you buy like groceries to take home and try or a
Oh
mix?
yeah, there was food stalls. Michael, you wouldn't believe what I got: gluten free frozen crepes, gluten free beef patties.
Right.
Um, did I buy anything else? Oh, gluten free beer, which was really good, and now
Gluten-free
I
beer.
bought more of it.
I've seen that
Yeah.
before at the beer store here in Ontario.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's real. You know what? I had barely had beer in 10 years, and it's nice to do it again.
On a cold or sorry, take two.
Hot day, Mike.
On a hot day. A nice cold beer on a cold day. What am I, Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Oh,
Freeze. It's
yes.
cold. That sounds
Mm.
fun. And
Mm.
how long did you stay at the gluten-free festival?
We were there for about an hour and a half. We had a gluten
Wow.
free beer and walked home. And I mean, this is disgusting. I don't need to share this detail, but I actually had to go to the bathroom. That's part of why I left. The curse never leaves me, unfortunately. But
Even though
it
you were
was.
eating things that
Mm,
were not supposed
I
to
don't
make
know
you go
what
to the
was going
bathroom.
on with me.
You probably got so excited to be around
Yes.
so much
Maybe
gluten-free culture.
maybe this explains the gluten-free Cisco that was dancing around.
Yeah.
Like, you're when you're there, it is exciting. It was nice. I'm not even kidding. There were a few, I guess, like, it was nice to see that there were some cool young gluten-freers,
They're not letting it
It
hold them
was
back.
it was a young crowd, I'm not kidding. And they didn't, there's a new generation of gluten-freers.
Did you see anyone like? Did any of them have like dyed hair or like
Mhm.
t-shirts with swears on them and things like that?
Yeah, a lot of them had T-shirts that said "fuck" or stuff like that, which was cool. But
Nice.
the Cisco guy did have a dyed hair,
Right. Okay. Obviously.
so I would love to have him on the podcast and talk to him and understand why were you so happy and dancing around? Not
Have
that it's
you?
bad; it's good. It's just
Was there comedy at the festival? Because I'm thinking, I know you and Ben Stagger could host the gluten-free comedy stage. You should do a show. There must be other
there must be.
gluten-freers in the comedy scene.
That's a really good idea. I mean, I know people who don't care about it, don't have this problem, love to hear about it, and
Yeah.
probably really interested. So I'm sure we get a big crowd.
Yeah. Well.
I do DM Ben Stagger once in a while. I DM'd him and I was like, "Hey, you should get this beer. It's gluten free." I don't know that he cared, but
Right.
I try to give him a tip here and there
Right. Well, he
as an
probably looks
older
up to you
gluten
as a
freer.
an older gluten-free brother.
I hope
You're
so.
looking out for
But the
him.
thing is,
Yeah.
he knew about his condition. He's known for longer than I have. So
Oh,
and there's a weird dynamic where is he the older brother? Am I the older brother?
I think he's the older brother in terms of the
And his is more
illness.
severe than mine.
Right. Okay. He's the older brother.
He's the older
You're his younger brother.
brother. Yes. Yeah.
That's
So,
good. Well, that sounds like a fun thing to do on the weekend. I
hmm.
did something that was fun on the weekend too, but left
Oh.
me feeling unwell. And it
Oh
should have
no.
been nice. We went on Sunday to my mother's place to make brunch.
Ah.
Me and my brother and his girlfriend, and I was on French toast duty. I'm not afraid to say it.
Oh, ooh
Mom
la
likes her
la.
French toast, and I made some French toast, and we had the 10 yards. We had nine. What's they saying? The whole 9 yards. We
The
had
whole 9
the
yards.
whole 10 yards. Whipped cream, strawberries,
Oh my god.
syrup, and then my brother made bacon and sausages and eggs. We had these croissants and
This is like a
potatoes.
lunch. This is like a brunch you'd make to like impress someone you want to try to marry. I mean,
Yes,
this is a lovely family brunch.
it was. And I made a salad as well, just so we had some greens in there and
My god.
with the dressing. But there was so much food, and before a single morsel of food was ready to eat, well, the mimosas started flowing,
Oh, yes.
and some wine spritzers, and stayed for about 6 hours. And by the end of the time, I was just destroyed. And I was so full. I didn't eat for like the next until the next day. And I didn't really recover until Monday night. And the brunch had started at like noon on Sunday. I just felt and looked like absolute garbage on Monday because I had too much of a nice time at mother's brunch.
Oh my god. Your mom knows how to party.
Yeah. And then I had a
Which
doctor's appointment the next day, and I think the
they told me I
doctor,
was dying.
yeah.
Like, "Oh no, Mike, you should have led with that."
I felt embarrassed going to the doctor because I looked in the mirror as I was getting off the elevator at the doctor's office, and I looked like absolute garbage.
Mm.
But I
I know if I've ever had a doctor's appointment when hungover, you feel like, "Oh man, they're gonna think I'm really ill."
and she was like, "Do you want to? You're due for your blood work today. Do you want to get it?" I was like, "No, not today. I will book it for a few weeks. In a few weeks."
That's
Uh,
pretty fun. What were was your brother and your mom? Did they indulge
oh,
too?
absolutely, yeah, yeah. Everyone was having a
That's
few
awesome.
Sunday sips.
Wow, I like mimosas. I never really cared too much about them, but Ebony and I stayed at a fun hotel, and they gave us free mimosas in the morning, and I was like, I suddenly get drinking in the morning. This is great.
Yeah. Cheap prosecco or sparkling wine. Just very
Mm.
sugary orange juice, just like garbage orange juice. Mix it
Oh, that
together.
makes it so much worse. Oh
Nice
man.
stuff.
Oh well, I'm
Yeah.
glad. Was there any reason for this lunch, or just
No, just a family get together, you know,
wow?
on a Sunday.
Oh my god, that's so nice.
It was good, and then came home and just felt like I needed to sleep, but it was only like 5 p.m. So I tried to nap
Oh.
for an hour. Then I woke up and felt like just terrible, and then couldn't really sleep when I was supposed to sleep. Oh, yeah.
Oh
That's
god.
what Sunday with Mother is all about.
Yes, Sundays with Mother. That could be a show.
Tuesdays with Maury, if you like that, you'll love Sundays with Mother.
I was almost going to suggest to you, should we have your mom on to fill in for Chris? But I bet she doesn't have a microphone.
She does not have a USB microphone. No,
Oh god, got to get her
I'll
one.
have to get her one for. What's the next big event for the
Simcoe Day.
Simcoe Day? Yes, in is that August?
I think so.
Simcoe Day.
Damn. Well, what do you think? Do we want to find one more thing to chat about or
We're
break?
at 21. We could try talking about. Here, I'll see if this goes anywhere.
Okay.
So, James, I know you love tech. You're always excited and sort of giggling to yourself about the latest tech, that's being released to the public.
Yes.
And today, Apple announced their big AI venture that by the fall, it's going to be just automatically on every Apple device. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I didn't quite understand it. So now, like my phone that I already have will have like Chat GPT just in it, like
Yeah, so
on it.
Apple is like working with ChatGPT to do Apple AI, and everyone's just going to get it. Like, you don't have to pay for a subscription service, apparently, from what I
Hmm.
understand. And it's going to also sync up with Siri in a very powerful way, so you can and learn about everything about your activity with your Apple devices and your search history and everything you do to create a totally customized experience for you. It will also probably decimate the labor force because it's going to like all these jobs that like we've all known this is coming.
Hmm.
Like jobs will be replaced by AI, but it's like it's really going to almost be ready to happen in the autumn.
Oh, just in time for the nice cool weather.
Yeah, so we're gonna have waves of unemployed masses just in time for Christmas.
That's good.
It's
When
good they're doing it.
when do you think the point was that like new technology went from feeling like, oh, this is kind of exciting and good to, oh, wait, is this just bad now? You know what I mean? Like there must have been some point because I feel like
The
even up to
iPod.
having an iPhone, yeah,
Yeah,
maybe the iPod or the iPhone was the last thing where you're like, this is actually good having this.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Well, on the weekend, I watched a really bad movie that if you're up for it and you want to see a really funny, really bad movie, I do recommend. And it's Atlas with Jennifer Lopez and Simu Liu
Is this
on
new?
Netflix. Yes. And
Oh,
that, well, very, very, very mild spoilers of just the premise here, but it's like a world ravaged by AI and J-Lo is fighting this evil AI is the premise of the movie, which is Simu Liu.
oh, he's taking the role as a villain.
Yes,
Interesting.
and you know what? Sorry for the shade on Simu Liu. I would say he was quite bad. He
Really?
was, yeah, he was trying to. He has no gravitas. He's trying to be like this, like like scary robot, and it's like I, you just seem the same as you were on Kim's Convenience to me.
Right.
Um, did you know that Simu Liu has released songs?
I didn't know that. Wow, the guy is a total renaissance man. He does everything: acting, dancing, singing, hosting the Junos.
I watched one of his music videos and it's pretty corny. He has a
Really?
song called, I think it's called Warm, and the video is him kind of grinding on this young pretty woman, and the
Hmm.
song goes, I know one way to keep you warm, to keep you warm. So I
What?
think he's saying, I know a way to keep you warm, and I think he's implying he'd have sex with her.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought specifically he meant like ejaculating on her tummy or her butt or something. But that would get cold quite
Oh,
quickly.
that's a. Hey,
Yeah.
wait a second. How do you know?
I know one way to keep you warm. It's a song about a man who wants to take a dump on his
Yeah.
beloved.
Or Mike maybe drape her in a duvet for all we
Duvet
know,
or
but
a fur coat. Fur coat.
or a fur coat. But
Could be dump
um,
though. Could be that.
it could have been a dump. But
Do you
yeah,
think? Wait. So the cast is who? J Lo and Simu.
J Lo, Simu, and I don't
Oh.
think I recognized anyone else.
Do you think that the recent trouble in J Lo and Ben Affleck's
Mm.
marriage has been because of a little guy named Simu getting in between them?
Well, Michael, at the premiere of Atlas, there was a clip online where a reporter was like, J Lo, how's it going since the divorce? And then she seems completely fine. She seems like, oh, whatever, I don't mind this question. And then Simu steps in, kind of trying to be like a brave man, and he's like, "Hey, don't talk to J Lo like that. Don't even ask J Lo any of these questions." But it felt a bit forced. You know when a guy tries to be kind of
Yeah,
chivalrous, but it's just
yeah,
awkward and weird, and the woman doesn't really
yeah.
want him to. That's how it felt to me. He might be a dink, Simu.
Simu, you're doing
I
it
don't
all
know. I don't know
wrong.
him. I
Yeah,
probably people listening probably know him. He's from Toronto, I think.
yeah.
I'm sorry, but I wonder if he's a or maybe a male bimbo.
I must say there was nothing. I hadn't seen an ad quite as revolting for years as his Cheetos ad, where the whole ad was about his Simu Liu has orange fingers. Will you eat his Will you lick his orange fingers or something?
Mm,
And it was just him with orange fingers from eating too many
he's
Cheetos.
cashing in.
Yeah,
He's doing a lot of ads.
doing a lot of ads for Google Cheetos. His
Yeah.
new hit single "Warm."
Yes. Can I ask you a quick question, Michael, just to change the subject quickly here?
Sure, but can we get back to Simu Liu after that?
Absolutely. In fact, keep going. I can change it
Okay,
after if you had another
no,
thing
no,
to talk about.
please, please.
Well, I don't know if this is has this ever happened to you? I think this is just me being insane. I woke up one morning and I had to pee.
Ha-
Normal, right?
happened to me. Happened to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's happened to a lot of guys out there. So I go to the toilet and I'm peeing, and it's like a lot of pee. And I'm going, geez. But I was, well, TMI, but whatever. I was sitting down. I wasn't really looking at it because I was just tired. I sometimes I sit down if
you're,
I just am
you're
tired.
too weary to stand up and pee.
Yes. Yes. So I'm just like, oh, I'm just sitting for this one. Yeah. And then I'm peeing, and then I finally look down and I go, whoa, that's clear. And
Yeah.
then I think to myself, I almost think that's too clear.
Oh.
And I had about an hour where I go, is my pee too clear? And I started Googling, is it bad to have like too clear pee? And there was really, literally one person on Reddit had asked that, and the response was like, you're being a freak.
Isn't it
So
just that you're well hydrated? Is that
it
usually?
is, but
Yeah.
somehow it just threw me off. I was like, pee's got to have a bit of yellow in it, no?
Oh, you like old
Uh,
school pee? You like
I like old school pee. Well,
right?
at least a bit of yellow,
Hmm. Yeah. No, I
the way they
agree.
would, the way our
Yeah.
parents used to pee.
A little,
Nowadays,
a
it's
little bit of tradition is
yes.
nice. Yeah.
How's your pee looking?
I will admit. So I had a big long one the other day. It was almost 2 minutes in the morning, and I
Good
couldn't believe
lord.
it. Usually, it's not clear in the morning when I wake up because you
Mm.
sweat at night, uh, so it's a little bit
You
dark.
sweat at night, you scream.
Scream. You fight ghosts and shadows. Uh, yeah, the first one's a little yellow. You would love it. I'll make a video, and then
Oh,
by the second one, because I've had water, coffee.
mm.
Uh, it's looking nicer. It's looking more like your urine, nice and
No,
clear.
oh, good. Oh,
Yeah,
good. Well, before I go to bed, I'm downing peppermint tea after peppermint tea. So I
right.
think I'm hydrating
It
myself.
must be like your first pee of the morning must smell like a Christmas candy cane.
It does. That's why I do it. And it's nice for Ebony. She gets in the
Yeah,
shower, and it's
she
like being
goes,
in
"But Santa
the
Claus
North
here."
Pole.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I find because I drink a whole French press of coffee most mornings, and I'm trying to cut back.
Wow. Hmm.
But then my first number one after that, it does smell like a pot of freshly brewed coffee.
Is that true?
I can't imagine a world where that's necessarily healthy. But
I've
that's my
never
truth.
heard pee smelling like coffee. Interesting. I am one of those people that if I eat beets, I it doesn't just go kind of beet colored one direction. I even get my pee a bit beet colored, which is
Wow.
terrifying, but it's a thing apparently.
It's healthy. Yeah.
Our friend, I mean, I'm just going to out him again. Our friend Aaron Eves, he's mentioned a couple times that, well, I don't even know if I should go there, but he, sometimes when he gets takeout and then the bathroom it smells like the takeout. I don't know. It's disgusting, and I'm sorry I brought it up. Without Chris here, we thought, oh, maybe it won't be so raunchy, but no. Sorry, Aaron, for the outing.
Takeout. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that was fun. Could always trim if anything's boring, and if great. All right. Shall I just roll right into it?
Yeah, we can do it all in one track,
Yeah,
probably.
get it in an hour.
Oh, is that good? Is that safe enough? Like, there's never a problem, right? If something goes
I
wrong,
don't think so. I think it's fine. Yeah.
and there's no time limit.
No, I'm sure there's like some kind of limit, but I don't think we'll hit it for sure.
Okay.
Before we get to this week's Evil Man topic, we have to mention, you know what time this is. We have to mention that we have a Patreon account. You can find it at patreon.com/evilmen. And we would love it if you signed up. And wow, Mike just burped. If you sign up, you get 2 bonus episodes a month. They are awesome. You get to talk to us on our Discord, which is super fun. And you also get 15% off our upcoming live show with a code you can find on our Patreon. And also, you just help us out, which we really appreciate. We appreciate it a lot. And if you don't do the Patreon, you know what you could do to really help us? Review us on iTunes and Spotify. I noticed, Mike, our iTunes reviews are really good, but our Spotify's reviews are a little low. And I think it's because it gets in people's algorithms and they think it's a true crime podcast. And then there's like 20 minutes of jizz talk and they're going, what the hell? So if you could give us 5 stars on Spotify, we would really appreciate it.
I just realized that when I thought I muted my mic when I belched, and I didn't.
That's funny. Oh, we got
Yeah.
to keep that in. It was very out of character for you, flat out.
Right. Because I've been doing.
I was
Because
surprised.
I've been drinking sparkling water, so I've had to belch a
Oh,
few
that'll
times,
do
and
it.
I muted it. Then I messed up.
No, that was good. You know what? It's funny because I was like, wow. I mean, I don't have a problem with this, but this is super unlike Mike.
I'm sorry, listeners. I'm sorry.
Hmm. We also have another thing we want to mention.
Yes.
And that is that on Saturday, June 22nd, coming up at 8:30 at the Paradise Theater in Toronto, we're doing another live show. It's going to
Evil
be
Men Live.
amazing. Yes. Come out. All the shows we've done have been really fun. People have a great time. We've already got some guests lined up. I might as well just say
Say it.
Jackie Pirico is going to host. We got Gavin Crawford. He's going to be on the podcast, and Chris Siddiqui. And it's going to be awesome. You can buy tickets in the show description on this very podcast. You can find a link. And don't forget, if you're a Patreon, you can get 15% off the ticket. And come, it'll be super fun. It's an awesome, really fun venue.
Awesome
check it
venue. It's
out.
beautiful. We're gonna have a whole multimedia portion to the show, and also if you're walking around in the nice weather right now, and you're like, I don't have a shirt, and you're walking around shirtless, and you feel sad and depressed. Well, if you come to the show, we will be selling Evil Men T-shirts as
That's
featured
right.
on several TV shows this past year.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so that'll be exciting too. And you know what? If you're like, I don't know if I believe them, go on our YouTube and you can watch the last live show we did. That's how confident I am. You're gonna go, whoa, that was really good and fun.
All right. Are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right. James, Chris, Hold on a second. Sorry, that was force of
Oh,
habit. I'm so used to saying Chris. It's just not. I'm so used to having him here, but it's just me
I
and you,
know.
James. James,
It's a, mm.
who is the evil man for this week's episode of Evil Men Podcast?
Well, Michael, um, as we've talked about, Chris unfortunately texted us earlier today. Can't make it. His stomach's not good. And yesterday, Chris did tell us, oh, I'll do the research tomorrow and I'm going to pick this guy and I'm going to do research tonight. That's what he told
Yes.
us.
Yes.
And it was like a French Revolution guy. Anyway, and then so today he had to bail. So, and Mike, you were busy. So I had to come up with something really fast. And so I put it on the Discord and I was like, please help me. I have to come up with a topic in the next couple hours. What would be a good topic that, I could research really quickly? And our listeners on there were so nice. Shout out, internet user, Marty Shark, Mats, Andy too. All these guys were giving really nice suggestions. And I ended up going with a suggestion of internet user who suggested a guy named Heinrich Kramer.
Wait. Jerry, Elaine, George, Kramer, Michael Richards. Interesting. No, wait a second. Is it a different guy?
Well, it is a different guy, but there are so many parallels. You won't believe it.
Hmm.
Um, for example, like Michael Richards, Heinrich Kramer was born in 1430 in a place called Schlettstadt. So, but yes,
Did
let's
Kramer?
begin.
Did this Kramer also get canceled for yelling out the N word unlimited times at the Laugh Factory?
Not for the N word,
Okay.
but for some other stuff.
All right. Well, as long as he's
Yeah.
canceled.
Yes, he definitely should be canceled retroactively. He's actually really bad. I'll tell you that right off the bat.
All right.
I just want to shout out quickly to a podcast called Your Magic. I read a transcript of their episode on him that was extremely helpful. So
All
shout
right.
out to them. So let's get into Heinrich Kramer. So yeah, he was born in 1430 in a place called Schlettstadt, which so present day Schlettstadt is on the border basically between France and Germany, but it was a free city at the time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Sounds like a
It is
fun
kind of
place.
cool.
Yeah.
Probably really a cool, fun place in 1430. So Heinrich joined the Dominican order at an early age. Now, interestingly, some great Toronto Blue Jays were from that order too. Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion, George Bell, Tony Fernandez.
Right.
Oh, sorry, just checking my notes here. They were from the Dominican Republic, not the
Right.
Dominican order.
They're not Dominican monks, I guess. Right. Okay.
No, they were from the Dominican
Right.
Republic. So yeah, the Dominican order, as you said, Mike, were monks basically who were charged with managing the Inquisition. Do you know a lot
Oh,
about the Catholic Inquisition? Is the Spanish Inquisition and the Catholic Inquisition the same thing?
I believe they are, and maybe the Spanish one is. First of all, I don't know a ton about it, but I think the Spanish one was the most intense and like violent part of the
Oh,
Inquisition.
I see.
I
Hmm.
don't know.
Yeah, I have here that the Catholic Inquisition started in the 1100s,
Hmm.
and yeah, it was basically stomping out anyone they felt were heretics,
Right.
which tended to be, I guess, anyone who didn't say they're a Catholic.
Right.
Um, but who were included as heretics, Mike?
Let's see. Newman, uh, Peterman,
Soup Nazi,
Abu. Were they
the
included?
guy, Kenny Banya,
Yep.
um,
The
the guy who ran the frozen yogurt shop, and he said
yes.
it was fat free, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Were those guys
All those
included?
people,
Yeah.
yes, and not only them, but also witches.
Oh no.
Yes, this is an episode heavily about witches. And the guy who got it fucking started to go after witches.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
Kramer. So he, I guess because he joined the monk order at a young age. I guess he wasn't super interested in girls and dating. He didn't have an active dating life, and wasn't like
I'm
a Casanova, I
yeah.
imagine.
I'm definitely gathering from the research I did today that Heinrich Kramer was no Machine Gun Kelly, or Alec Baldwin or something in his prime. I mean, I
Okay.
get the sense that he was very afraid of women and hated women, to be frank.
Right. So it's worse than just not getting, just being bad or awkward with girls.
Yes. I actually read one description of him that he was kind of like maybe, I mean, I don't think you could say he was the original incel, but he was certainly an old school one, kind of.
The original
Um,
Supreme Gentleman.
yes. So this, I did not know this, but apparently pre Heinrich Kramer, um, the Catholic Church frowned on witchcraft, but it wasn't really a big deal. They didn't really care about it that much, and they certainly weren't killing people about it.
Right.
I, from what I read, it was kind of not something that was taken that seriously. Maybe your mother or your grandmother made tinctures, or followed the path of the moon. It was kind of this, I guess, feminine spirituality thing that it just wasn't taken super darkly or seriously, according to what I read.
Right.
Um, so that's the world. Heinrich's in here, and Heinrich, yeah. So he's a monk. He's finding heretics, and he was known as being very eloquent at the pulpit. So I guess he was kind of a podcaster of his day, if you look at it that way.
Well, you can't hate that. That's not bad. Yeah.
That's the one thing about him I like.
Yeah.
He probably would have been a podcaster, today. It would have been a pretty dark podcast, but still. Um, sometime around 1474, he was appointed the Inquisitor for the Tyrol, Salzburg, Bohemia, and Moravia regions.
Damn, that's a classic region.
I feel like no good guy has ever been appointed the Inquisitor. I mean,
No, I think most of the
Paul
Inquisitors.
Rudd's not kind of become appointed an inquisitor, or Tom Hanks.
Mm-mm.
Um, so in this time, there were theoretical grounds to prosecute witches for heresy, but it was pretty tough to get a witch before the Inquisition's assessors. Like I said, it wasn't like, in theory, it was like, that's not good being a witch or being kind of into witchcraft, but whatever, it's not really a big deal. Um, but there was this woman in the town of Innsbruck named Helena Schuberin.
Elaine. We got
Oh my
Kramer.
God,
We
you're
have
right.
Elaine. Helena.
We have to assign Seinfeld characters to different people in this story. Okay, so Heinrich Kramer is obviously Kramer.
Kramer.
Helena Schuberin is Elaine.
Yeah.
I wonder who Jerry is, and I wonder who George is. We'll have to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
So, a writer named Hans P. Brodel described this Helena Schuberin as an aggressive, independent woman not afraid to speak her mind. She was like a wealthy woman in this town. However, there were rumors that she was a witch.
Okay.
Who knows why? Maybe she did dabble in some light, like I said, making tinctures and having that kind of spirituality, maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe it was just all bullshit. Apparently she was kind of uh, uh accused of being promiscuous.
Right.
Maybe there was just resentment, or who knows why, but she was being accused of being a witch.
Maybe she wore an Ozzy Osbourne T-shirt around the
Yeah.
town.
Yeah. Exactly. Or put a bit of black eyeliner on. So a local knight with an interesting name. His name was Jorg Spies.
There's George.
Knight Jorg. You're right.
George.
You're
Kramer.
right.
George. Jorg. Okay.
Oh my God.
I love this.
Well, yeah, and like Knight Jorg, was famous for having someone see him nude after he went swimming and his penis shrunk. So that was one.
Tis shrinkage.
Anyway, so Knight Jorg, he died.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear.
He died, and it was like mysterious circumstances. He was ill, and he probably just had like a disease now we would just cure with a pill, but he just
Okay.
died. And people were like, oh, fuck. Helena Schuberin probably did it because she's a witch. And the Knight Jorg's doctor even told him, hey, while you're don't go near that Helena Schuberin. She might kill you, you know? So he's dead. And people are like, but it wasn't too bad. Like, no one was like lynching her or anything. It's just there were, a little bit of
Right.
rumors, right? So Heinrich Kramer, he's starting. He's all about like maybe we need to get on this witch thing.
Right.
He's a really intense inquisitor. He's going after everybody who's not Catholic, and I think he's thinking this whole witch. What's the deal with witches? Oh my god,
What's the deal with wishes?
he's literally doing that. And he's like obsessed with them. So he hears about this Helena Schuberin, aka Elaine, and he heads to Innsbruck, aka New York City, and he starts doing these sermons about how Helena is evil.
Can I ask a question? When he
Yeah.
when he entered the town of Innsbruck, when he entered the gates, did the whole town go woo? Like when Kramer would enter for the first time
Yeah,
the
and he'd
Seinfeld
slide in even though he didn't have
episode?
shoes on and it was like a dirt floor. He'd still slide in somehow. But oh my god, Mike. Yeah, like cuz he was a great, he was like really passionate on the pulpit. I mean, that is like stand up too.
It is. Yeah.
What the
Some
hell?
some say stand-ups are the modern day prophets and holy men,
Mhm.
and I agree
They
with that.
definitely are. Go to a comedy bar on a random night and you'll see a lot of
Holy men and prophets.
holy prophets, that's for sure. Not at all huge scumbags. Just kidding. So right. So Heinrich Kramer is in Innsbruck and he's mad about Elaine
Mhm.
and he's doing these sermons about how she's evil and she's a
Mrs.
witch and
George.
yeah,
Mrs. George.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I eat cereal all throughout the day and that's fine. That's not weird. I'm neat and I dress well. People think I'm gay, but I'm not. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Mhm.
And anyway, so Heinrich Kramer, he's like bothering Helena too. He's kind of harassing her. And eventually he's so dogged about being obsessed with this sort of wealthy, witchy woman, I guess, that he manages to begin a trial for Helena along with some other women in the town that he thought were witches too.
Kramer.
Oh my God, Mike, I just thought of another connection.
What?
Isn't there a Seinfeld episode where Elaine sings Witchy Woman?
Does she?
Witchy Woman. Is that when she does the dancing episode or something?
Witchy woman? Because the song just came into my mind
Me too.
because you said
Mike's
it.
looking it up.
Desperado, Witchy Woman, Seinfeld.
Oh my God.
Which episode of Seinfeld is Witchy Woman? The Checks is the 141st episode of the sitcom Seinfeld. It aired on November 7th, 1996.
Did Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David base Seinfeld on the story of Heinrich Kramer?
I think so.
I think so too.
Elaine suggests that she and Brett, I guess her boyfriend,
One of her guys.
make Witchy Woman by the Eagles their song, but he rejects it. Ellen then suggests they share Desperado, but Brett says it's mine. So yeah,
Oh
there
my
is a Witchy
God.
Woman connection. Oh my God.
What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
By the way, when I was young, I had such a big crush on Elaine. Were you an Elaine?
Oh yeah, she's a
She was a
total full babe.
absolutely and still is.
Yes. Unlike
I
Jerry
feel like
Seinfeld and Michael Richards.
I was just gonna say I feel like,
Jason Alexander.
young ladies my age aren't like, oh, when I grew up, I had such a crush on Jerry or George or Kramer.
Yeah, I think there was only one teen that felt that way for
Yes.
Jerry Seinfeld. What's her name? Shoshana.
Shoshana Longstein.
Shoshana
And she had a
Longstein.
relationship with him. Okay. So Heinrich, like I said, he manages to kind of make this trial happen with Helena and these other women he's saying are witches. But like I said, the town is just like, no, dude, this is too far. And they're not having it. And they actually kick Heinrich Kramer out of Innsbruck.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they're like, get the fuck out of here, as Chris would say. I'm channeling Chris a bit.
Get the
A bit.
fuck out of here.
uh, so Heinrich is pissed. He's been kicked out of Innsbruck, which I think got the Winter Olympics at some point much later. Which is too bad that Heinrich didn't get to see that.
You didn't get to live
Or
long enough to see
Helena.
that. Yeah.
Anyway, so Heinrich, he goes to the Pope and he says to the Pope, what the actual fuck? They kicked me out of Innsbruck, Austria, where the Olympics are going to be at some point, and I was trying to execute these fucking witches, and they kicked me out, and I can't do it, right?
Yeah.
So the Pope, whose name was Pope Innocent the Eighth, what a name.
Methinks the Pope doth protest too much. I was probably a massive scumbag.
Yeah, it's true. That is protesting too much. It'd be like if Jared Fogle changed his name to Jared Not a Pervert. So the Pope hears out Heinrich Kramer, and he likes Heinrich Kramer. They're buddies. Kramer's like the number one inquisitor.
Right.
And the Pope decides, you know what? Fuck it. I am going to put out a papal bull. I did not know really what a papal bull was, but it's like a public decree. Did you know that, Mike?
I didn't know what it meant. I've heard the term before.
You hear it and you're like, what is it? But it's like a public decree.
I thought it was like a Vatican. The Vatican maybe had one of those mechanical bulls, and then the Pope gets to ride it and see how long he can stay off before he gets, knocked off.
The papal bull.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes down to a roadhouse and
the
has
priests are
two
like,
shots
woo!
of JD.
Yeah. And there's girls dancing on the bar like Coyote Ugly.
So this papal bull proclaimed, this papal bull literally acknowledged the existence of witches and explicitly empowered inquisitors to prosecute them and also prosecute sorcerers. You don't hear a lot about sorcerers, really.
Yeah, the witches get sort of all of the limelight.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a moment and shout out the sorcerers of the 15th century.
I would love to be a sorcerer. Like, what do you have to do?
Are you allowed to be one in Toronto?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you have to go to York region. I think there are laws here. So, yeah, Pope Innocent basically did this to back up Kramer. Like, hell yeah, get this Helena woman in Innsbruck. Why the goddamn Pope cares this much, I don't know. And I don't know why Kramer cares this much either. He's basically an obsessive freak. But this basically says, this papal bull, it basically says witches are real and they're heretics. And as we know, with the Catholic Inquisition, if you're a heretic, you're dead.
Right.
So this was all the ammo Heinrich needed. So Heinrich goes back to Innsbruck and he's got this church document in his friggin' hand. And the leaders of Innsbruck kind of had no real power anymore to evict Heinrich from their village, and they couldn't really stop him. So Heinrich Kramer was able to get a trial going, much like this series finale of Seinfeld,
where they were all put on trial for being bad people who failed to help.
Oh my God.
What's his name? John,
yes.
That comedian who was getting mugged.
I forget.
What's his name? The guy who says, I say nay, nay.
I say nay, nay.
That was his catchphrase. John Pinette. I say nay, nay.
Oh my God. I remember John Pinette. He was plus size.
He was a plus size guy. He was the male Lizzo of his day. There he is.
Right. John Pinette. I can't believe John Pinette was in the series finale of Seinfeld.
Yeah. I mean, this was when
no
America
offense.
was experiencing Pinette mania. Everyone was going gaga for Pinette.
Right. I forgot about that time. Yeah. Wow. He had the Pinette dancers who followed him around.
Yeah. I tried to look like John Pinette to try and impress girls, and I think lots of guys my age did.
Right. It was such a fashionable look.
Yeah.
That's right. Now that you mention it, back in the late 90s, yeah, all like I was about 18, 16, 17, 18, and yeah, we'd all sort of like try to emulate John Panette and dress like him, try to meet girls.
Yeah, everyone was talking like him. If you looked like him, like you had your pick of dates basically on a Saturday
Yeah.
night. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. God, those were the days, man. I remember I had a Nintendo 64 in the late 90s and there was a John Panette Nintendo 64 platforming game.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like Mario, but you were John Panette.
He was he those like online masterclass things you can take where it's like you can
Yeah,
learn
sure.
learn how to make movies from Martin Scorsese or like learn how to write a novel from Margaret Atwood. John
Mm,
Panette was the the original masterclass. It was how to pick up chicks with John Panette.
John
Yeah, and
Panette.
I bought it. I
Yeah.
admit I bought it, and it worked.
Yeah. And John Panette had a high voice, didn't he?
I think he
I
did.
didn't mean to
Yeah,
say hi twice, but he just had a higher voice.
yeah.
And that was in
He
fashion
was
at the
he was
time.
no Barry White. Let's put it that way.
Oh my god. Him and Barry White could hang out on opposite day together because they just were extremely different.
Imagine them on a seesaw, and they're opposites in so many ways. One is a high voice, one is a low voice, one is a black man, one's a white man. They probably got
Yes.
totally different perspectives. It's nice. It's too bad that they're both. Well, maybe they're up in heaven on a seesaw right now.
Mike, that is such a beautiful image, and I'm really glad you shared that with
I
us.
would love
I
a
love the idea of Barry White and John Panette up in heaven.
on a seesaw.
And maybe Jimi Hendrix is playing guitar next to them.
Yes. I would love if a listener was able to draw an image of John Panette, the late comedian, and
Yeah.
Barry White, the great soul singer, on a
Mm.
seesaw in heaven together, just having a great time.
Oh my god, I love that.
Mm.
And maybe St. Peter is looking at them and chuckling and saying, "Ha, that's one heck of a game of seesaw."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
That's good. Oh boy. So back to the 1400s in an area that is sort of the border of France and Germany now.
Yes.
And Heinrich Kramer, he's got this goddamn papal bull
Fuck.
and he's managed to put on a trial for these women in this town, especially Helena, for witchcraft. So, excuse me for a second. Here we go. The trial lasted about a month. And though there were townspeople who did accuse Helena and the other women of witchcraft, none of them connected this in any way to the devil. And it was actually the church that equated witchcraft with Satanism.
Right.
So that was kind of a new thing Heinrich was kind of doing. And Heinrich was also trying to tie in promiscuity with being a witch and sort of bringing new things to witchcraft. You guys are Satanists. You guys are all having orgies all the time. Like he's probably projecting, I'm sure, his own weird feelings about women
They
onto these women.
stink, they worship the devil, and they're mean.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
my
And they don't
impersonation.
like me.
Yeah, yeah.
So this trial ended without a confession,
Good. Good for Helena.
which is good, but unfortunately, Heinrich then tortured Helena
Oh,
and these other
no.
women. We don't know exactly how he tortured them, but according to what I read, a common thing back then was to have an accused witch carry a chunk of red hot iron for precisely 3 steps without dropping it. And if you could do this, you were not a witch, which seems
Right.
really stupid.
Hmm.
Like, wouldn't a witch maybe have magic powers and could hold it for even longer?
Yeah.
I also read from the transcript of that podcast I mentioned that they did that thing where they'd tie you up and throw you in a lake, and if you floated, you're a witch, and if you sunk and died, you weren't.
Yeah.
I almost didn't mention it because I feel like, is that true? Because
That,
you see
that's
that in movies
that's the one
all the
I've always
time.
heard about. I don't know if it's a
Yeah,
urban myth or a rural
urban myth.
myth.
Yeah, surely people at the time must have known how stupid that
It's
was.
like, oh, it never works. Everyone we kill keeps being not a
Yeah,
witch. Everyone
and then
drowns.
if they're innocent, we've killed them.
Yeah. but at least we
Bunch of damn
investigated.
ignorant morons in
Yeah,
this town.
yeah.
Anyway,
Whereas these days, there's a simple blood test to tell if someone's a witch.
so despite the torture and everything, the church could not prove that Helena Schuberin had murdered the noble knight Georg Spice with witchcraft or otherwise.
Yes.
Um, Helena was probably, I don't know, a pretty impressive person. She didn't break at the torture or this case or anything. She didn't crack at all. So pretty impressive. However,
Uh-oh.
based on this experience, Heinrich Kramer was butthurt to say the least.
Yeah.
And he even said that. He wrote that to the Pope. Pope Innocent, I am officially butthurt. So Kramer went to Germany and started writing a book. Okay. Now, this book was published in 1486, which is a wonderful year for books. And it was called The Malleus Maleficarum.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, do you know of this?
Classic. I read a chapter basically every night before I go to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you often see it in airport
Mhm.
bookstores next to the Da Vinci Code and
The,
John
the
Grisham.
subtle art of not giving a fuck. And yeah.
Yeah, the Malleus Maleficarium. Anyway, this book was Heinrich Kramer's life's work and his lasting legacy. Now, what is it? Well, first and foremost, it's really a legal document, and it elaborates upon Pope Innocent's papal bull, which says witchcraft is heresy.
Hmm.
And it gives all this advice and teachings about witches and witchcraft, which obviously this lunatic just made up. Um, Gave advice like judges during a trial with witches should wear a charm of blessed salt around their neck. It said that witches should be stripped and shaved and led into the courtroom backwards. Um, it explained how to gain confessions via torture. It suggested burning at the stake as the most traditional way to dispose of heretics in general
Hmm.
and easily applied to witches. Um, Heinrich wrote in the book he believed that God would not allow an innocent person to be mistakenly murdered for witchcraft. So don't feel bad about wrongful death or anything like that, because if you decide we should kill this person for witchcraft and you do, they were a witch.
So he just can't lose.
That's a trick.
Can't lose according to the rules he's made up. That's good.
Yes. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and kill them. So another thing too is this book really established witchcraft as heresy, which meant that Catholics really had to believe in witches and witchcraft because here they are saying it's real
So
and it's
the
heresy.
Pope approved everything in the
Yeah.
book, and it became like part of like the doctrine of the church or whatever. Like,
Yeah. So dumb, stupid 1450 people are going, oh, witches are real, eh? And this totally fueled this kill witches craze,
it's.
which was totally psychotic.
I mean, it seems like in the 1400s, people had more pressing concerns than like who's a witch. Like, if you get bit by a bug, you'll die. If you break your leg, you'll
Mm,
die. Like
yeah.
everything will just kill you if you eat
If you get a
undercooked.
cut on your leg and it gets a
Yeah,
little bit infected, you're
you're
dead.
gonna die if you don't cook your dinner properly. You'll die. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yet some
Um
men are so obsessed with punishing women that they have to write a book in Latin about how to identify and punish a witch.
um now much like Kramer from Seinfeld, he did have some wacky ideas in the book too.
Okay.
He he seemed to think they would do some weird stuff with men's penises.
Oh yeah.
Here here is an excerpt from this book. Quote, "What are we to think about those witches who shut up penises in what are sometimes prolific numbers, 20 or 30 at a single time, in a bird's nest or some kind of box, where they move about in order to eat oats and fodder as though they were alive, something which many people have seen and is reported by common gossip?" So
So wait.
he's saying he was saying it was like a hallucination, but that these witches get a bunch of men's penises and I guess shoot them up in the trees and they bounce around like living things.
What? Like, so they cut them off? Of
Sorry, 1 second. I just heard my neighbor yelling. I don't think he was yelling at me,
Oh.
but I just shut my window in case.
Stop
Um,
talking about
I think he
15th
was.
century penis ideas.
I honestly think he was yelling about the Blue Jays game when the Jays score a run. I always hear him yell.
You should yell back. Say,
Um,
"Sir, we're talking about the Dominican monk Kramer right now. Keep it down." So was he saying that he hallucinated this idea, or that many people
well,
have
no,
seen?
so he's saying I've heard witches come by and they make men's penises disappear and then they go up in a bird's nest and then they
Or some kind of
walk around like
box.
little animals. And this is real, but he said they weren't literally doing this. They would make men hallucinate to think that was happening.
Okay.
Have you ever hallucinated your penis going up in a bird's nest and, acting like a little farm animal up there? I never have.
I plead the fifth. No, that's never happened. I've never hallucinated that. My penis is up in the nest, dancing around and eat. Did you say that they eat stuff too? That they're eating things?
Eating oats.
Eating
Yeah. I guess
oats.
it's a horse. Yeah. That's sick. What's it doing? Sucking down an oat through the little hole in the top? I mean, ew. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, what a freak, huh?
I'll have what he's smoking.
Heinrich Kramer in the book also told the tale of a woman who was mad that she had not been invited to a wedding. So she peed in a bowl, stirred her urine counterclockwise, and brought upon a storm upon the wedding.
This
is the kind of stuff witches can do. They pee and they mix it around and a storm comes.
That's like that Slayer song. Counterclockwise
Really?
piss stir. Yeah. On the album Rain and Blood. Yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah.
Wow.
The video is great. It just starts, it shows a woman pissing in a bowl and stirring it. And then a great storm attacks a wedding.
I'm a bit of a home chef. So when I hear stirring in a bowl, I'm thinking, maybe making a roux or some kind of souffle. Anyway, he also described what you had to do to become a witch. All right. He's making all this up.
Yeah.
By the way, like I said, no one really connected the witches with the devil before this. But he said, if you want to become a witch, this is what these women are doing. Okay. This is what these women are doing. First, they swear off Christianity and they enter into a pact with the devil.
Okay.
Next, these women have to actually have sex with the devil.
Okay.
Now, this part I almost don't believe, but I did read it from this podcast called Your Magic, so I'm going to go with it. He claimed, Michael, that not only would you have to have sex with the devil, you would have to kiss the devil's anus. And this is called the shameful kiss.
Wow, it's a lot of judgment, a lot of sex negativity there on behalf of Kramer.
I know. He's literally like just saying that they're, what do you call that? Tossing the devil's salad. Is it just thinking of like, oh, I bet these women are licking the devil's butt and having sex with him. Oh, I'm so mad that they're having sex.
He doesn't like ass play. He doesn't like analingus. This 15th century monk. It's crazy.
It is insane. Heinrich Kramer and all those 15th century Dominican order monks, you guys need to listen to Savage Love, the podcast, or something, because you guys are really behind the times.
It is always funny to be reminded that, like, oh yeah, humans have always been like super perverted and had like crazy ideas. And this is a time when this guy was operating, when this guy was writing his witch book. You have to remember, this was before social media. This was before cell phones. So he had a wild imagination, He
honestly probably would like this podcast just because we talk about gross stuff. Mm-hmm. The only difference is we're laughing about it and having fun with it, and he would get really obsessed with it and mad at it and
the shameful
come
kiss.
Up with weird stories. Yeah, the shameful. And you could just imagine him by candlelight. Ooh, I bet they licked the devil's ass. Ooh, I'm mad about this. Like, what a goddamn freak. Why don't you go for a walk?
Yeah, go for a walk. Have some cabbage stew or something. I don't know what food did they have.
Probably, yeah, cabbage stew or dung or something.
Dung burgers for dinner.
More dung burger tonight, brother. So apparently the devil would also show his appreciation for having his arse eaten by granting the witches the gift of flight. So I guess witches
Pretty
could
good
fly.
trade off, I would say.
Honestly, I'd lick the devil's ass to be able to fly.
Yeah.
Avoid traffic. Um. Anyway, so at first, most theologians of the time were like, "This book is stupid, and I don't care about it." However, a lot of folks in the Dominican order who were already very against things like prostitution and sodomy, they got into this, and it started gaining traction. And Heinrich is becoming like a big deal because of this stupid ass book. And he is made papal nuncio, which is kind of a diplomat to the Pope. And his Inquisition territory grows to include the Czech Republic, which is, that's a great spot to do some inquisiting.
Yeah.
Um, so Heinrich Kramer, he'd basically fucking go around and give sermons about witches, and he's almost like bringing in a celebrity author to talk about his book. And
So yeah, he's like,
you know,
who would he be like? He'd be almost exactly like a best-selling author, like J.K. Rowling or
sure,
Jordan
or
Peterson or
Jared Diamond,
yes,
who
yeah.
wrote like Guns, Germs, and Steel. It was probably science to them at the time. Like, whoa, this guy's really smart.
It's actually really
They
true.
lick a devil's
Yeah,
ass.
when you think about it, 'cause most women would lick the devil's ass to fly. That's why young men need stronger role models.
Yeah. Young men are sitting by while women are licking a devil's ass to fly.
The devil doesn't
Oh,
offer
man.
young men the same bargain if they kiss his anus. And it's just so sad.
Uh, yeah, so this book was super influential in spreading the idea of witchcraft and witches are real and they do all these horrible things. And hey, is that woman in your town acting weird? She's probably a witch. You should probably kill her. And from 1484 to 1750, around 200,000 people were accused of witchcraft, tortured, and or killed in Western Europe.
Cool.
The vast majority women. There were some men, though, who were accused of it as well.
Oh man, if I had lived back then, with my luck, I would have been one of the few men accused of witchcraft and killed.
Yeah. Poor Mike. Sucks that Mike got burned alive for being
Seriously.
a witch. It's kind of a woman thing.
I didn't kiss the devil's anus. Seriously. Come on. You know me. I've grown up in your town. You know my family.
So Heinrich was basically like, all women really could be a witch. Like, women just have it in them that they have this potential to be corrupted and be witches and, behave in a way where they have sex with people and, aren't just obedient, and they could be, it's almost like the Adam and Eve apple. Like, they're just constantly tempted by their nature, and they could turn into witches. And really, the only way that you might not become a witch is if you live as a nun.
Right.
I mean, it's so insane.
Kramer.
So, he's like afraid of women. I know, Kramer, this is even worse than the thing you said on the friggin' stage that time. So Heinrich Kramer died in 1505.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear.
And I know, yeah, our sincerest condolences to his family, and check out his GoFundMe.
In lieu of flowers, the family has asked that you talk to your daughters,
Eat a dung burger.
mothers, and sisters, and tell them never to kiss the devil's anus.
So, believe it or not, this book, the Malleus, whatever the fuck it was called, the Malleus Maleficarum, was really popular for a long time. Like, it was really popular for like a couple hundred years after his death. And for like 200 years, it even outsold the Bible.
Really?
According to what I read, yeah.
Is it on
So
Audible? Is there like someone reading it? Oh yeah, Jeff Goldblum
Stephen
reads.
Fry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Stephen Fry reads Malleus Maleficarum.
Yeah. So this laid the groundwork for um, Salem, Massachusetts, and all the witch hunting in Europe. It was really just this one stupid freak who just hated women, and isn't that crazy? Like the idea of being a witch meant something different before this, which was, I feel like I could be wrong, but almost just kind of a feminine spirituality, earthy thing. And he turned it into this Satanist, we got
Yeah,
to kill him thing.
this is crazy. I mean, that's a crazy story.
Yeah.
I'm just looking up on Amazon. You can buy Malleus Maleficarum for 1384 paperback, and it says the translation of the name is the Witch Hammer.
Is that
The
true?
Witch Hammer. That's what it says here. And it says, yeah,
Wow. 1384.
Malleus Maleficarum is a seminal treatise regarding witchcraft and demons presented here, complete with an authoritative translation to modern English. Wow.
There you go. Wow. Well, that is the story of Heinrich Kramer.
Well, thank you, James, for telling us the story of Kramer, Jerry, um, and Jorg and Elaine, Helena. Uh,
We never found out who the Jerry was, but maybe one of those Austrian townsfolk was dating a really young girl. So
Maybe.
that was the Jerry.
I was gonna say, I bet like Jerry could also be in his personality. It seems like Pope Innocent was just like, "You want me to sign what? All right, Kramer, I want a date right now." So he signed the papal bull just to get Kramer out
Yes.
of his house or his apartment, so he
I
could
love that.
date it.
Jerry was Pope Innocent the Eighth.
Yeah, and not so innocent.
Oh my God. You know what I forgot to mention? Pope Innocent the Eighth was obsessed with Pop Tarts. So that actually really tracks.
he he canonized the inventor of Pop Tarts and made him a saint, Saint Pop Tartius.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, what a story! Because I've only ever heard of like witch trials in England or in like Massachusetts. I didn't know that in Central Europe there were also witch hunters and witches who were
And it
persecuted.
sounded worse. I think I've read that the Salem witch trials, was it that there weren't as many as we think, but maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe there was a lot,
I think
but
we did an
it
episode
seems
on
like it was
the
quite
guy.
bad in Western Europe.
Yeah, well,
Hmm.
yeah.
I know it's a pretty horrific. I mean, it literally just feels like an excuse to kill women for not being obedient to men.
It sounds like the Catholic Church saying the quiet part out loud.
Did you ever see the movie The Witch?
No, I didn't. I don't watch a
It's
lot of
good.
horrors. Yeah.
It's kind of. I won't give a spoiler, but it's kind of a slog for the first like 85%. And then the last 15%, though, really worth it.
Is this by like the
It's
Scandinavian director who also did
yeah, The Northman, which I haven't seen yet.
Oh, okay.
Well, is it time to bring out the
Oh, look at him. He's holding out a papal bull that he received in Rome, and he is also he's wagging his finger at a woman who's in my apartment.
Oh, who's
Yeah,
that?
don't
We
bother.
won't tell
Won't
Suze.
tell Suze. And he's also speaking in Latin.
Oh my
He's very
god. Well,
judgmental. Yeah.
it's time for us to give scores on the evilometer. 1 to 10. Least evil to most evil. Man, I oh man, I hadn't thought of this until right now. I think he's really bad. I I don't think I don't think he killed anyone by his own hand, but I think he's a 9. I think
He's a
he's really
9.
bad. I think
Wow.
he knowingly and intentionally tried to change the world in a really bad way.
Yeah, and his book probably influenced all the other witch hunters and the Inquisition and
Yeah,
all that stuff.
definitely did.
Yeah.
It definitely did.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
Hmm. I mean, part of me thinks that in the Catholic Church, it's always just a case of, when a priest does something bad, it's like, oh, it's just one bad apple, spoiling the bunch, because most priests and monks are really good and help people. But this guy seems particularly nasty. Yeah, I'm gonna give him a 9 as well. I don't like
Yeah,
Kramer and what he did to Helena. Man, picturing that poor Helena woman walking with
I know.
a red hot iron. Not
I
nice.
hate that. But I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Helena
She
survived the
survived.
ordeal, and I hope she had a good rest of her life. She's really the hero of the whole
It
story.
ruined her
I think it would
ability
be a
though.
good
Be a
movie.
great movie. I wonder if the touching the hot iron ruined her ability to play electric guitar.
Right. Well, the famous episode when Elaine danced funny,
Yes.
it did it was almost like the physicality of someone who had a burned hand, like,
Yes.
ah, ah,
So
you know?
yeah, I think this guy's a real piece of shit, and he should fuck
Me
off.
too.
And I'm glad he died.
I'm
Um,
glad he died too.
yeah,
And I hope he's burning in hell.
yeah. I'm never gonna read his book Malacabus Tobacculus.
Yeah, you lost two potential customers today, Kramer, because we are not buying your book, even though it's at honestly a very reasonable price right
Yeah,
now on Amazon.com.
good imagination. I will give him. I didn't give him a 10 because he's got
Yes.
an amazingly vivid imagination. Kissing the devil's anus,
Hmm.
stirring a bowl of urine backwards, leading a woman into court backwards. Lots of
He
backward
would be
stuff
like a.
going on. Yeah.
I mean,
The
these sexual things he was dreaming
the
up must have
penis
been.
hallucination of the penis birds or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, certainly edgy for the time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing the despicable story of brother Kramer.
Brother Kramer. My pleasure. And you know what? Thank you to our Discord for helping me come up with a topic last minute. And I actually think it was a really interesting, good one. So it worked out great.
Thanks, guys. And also, now that I think about it, all this talk of witchcraft, uh, Chris's rumbly tumbly seems to make a lot more sense now. I bet he was got a hex from a witch that gave him tummy trouble.
Yes. Either that or maybe some shrimp that
Shrimp.
went off.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows?
But
And one last thing again before we go, June 22nd, 8:30, the Paradise Theater in Toronto. Get your tickets. Live show.
there's the link for tickets will be in the show notes, and I'll just also add the week
Yes.
after June 22nd, I'm doing another preview of the show I'm bringing to the Edinburgh Festival called "Thanks for Murdering My Grandfather, the Mafia." Not, and if you come to the live show, I'll probably have like a thing for you to fill out if you want complimentary tickets. I just want my show to be full of people, and it'd be nice to see listeners of the show at the 29th at the Transact Club. So yeah,
Nice.
keep
So if you
keep an
come
eye
to the
out.
Evil Men show, you get another show for free
Damn right.
if you want. And it'll be a really fun time. Sweet. Well, seems like that was another great episode of.
Yes.
That was great.
Evil